It's Thursday, 15th of August, 2024. And in this evening's late show, we give our reactions to the opening day horror show at Crawley. The midweek defeat of 10-man Burton in the Carabo Cup. And we look ahead to this weekend's clash with Stockport with the help of Daniel from Scarf Begara Wore pod. I'm John Aspinall, and this is Seaside's podcast, extra time special, entitled Crawley and Burton Reaction, Stockport Preview. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the delayed Seaside podcast. We are 7 minutes late because of technical difficulties from the elder statesmen of the pod, or statesmen of the pod. But we've got there in the end. Tim, welcome back. Surprised you remembered to know all this, how to use this technical equipment and stuff after being on holiday for what seems like the last 6 months.
I do.
Is there any way you haven't been? Is there any way you haven't been?
I have been away a bit. I've got to, even by my own standards, I've managed a few cheeky trips. But my laptop decided it didn't like to load StreamYard. And because it's full of all the security from work, I can't just put Chrome on. It won't let me do it. I've had to dig out my old laptop, and that I didn't have any battery on it. And as you know, I couldn't hear you when I first came on. I had to go off. Anyway, we're here, and I'm buzzing for the new season.
Andy, what type of work is it that he's been doing?
He's took his holiday this year at Tory party headquarters. He's just mate. He's having a shocker, isn't he? He's put half the country in jail in the last week.
Sakia, what are you doing? You're setting an example of people.
Well, this is it. You see, you've got to hit him hard and stop all these oiks rioting.
Two-tier Tim, Nick. I've just thought of another name for him. How can we apply? How can we apply that name in the context of?
Well,
Blackpool
I'm sure we'll think of something. Mind you, the amount of clubs he goes to, so it's more like 10-tier Tim, isn't it? With all his Germany trips.
Hey, we had a protest virtually outside our office last Wednesday night. So I was there with my baseball bat, ready to stop anybody smashing our place up. So because they were having a pop at the Enterprise Centre across the way. So it was an interesting last Wednesday. But I was warned if I went down there, they might think I was Keir Starmer and could get in some trouble for that. So I had to wear disguise.
Bet the pound signs would go in front of your eyes. You were seeing all this law and disorder going on, weren't you?
Well, the pound signs if all the windows went through, about how much it was going to cost to put them all right. But
5 minutes work for you, Tim. That'll all been sorted. Won't worry about that. Right, shall we get going? We've got 2 games to catch up on. As I said on the interview, we've got a Stockport fan coming on to help us preview the Stockport game this Saturday, but we'll kick off with Crawley 2, Blackpool 1. We are a bit late with coming with a reaction show to this. So there's a lot of us been away, myself included. But Nick, it was obviously on Sky.
It was. Go on.
Just my opening back gambit was it looked like we had 3 super tankers at centre half. The first half, they were getting in behind us that many times. It wasn't really a surprise when they went ahead to me.
No, it was. We talked on the last pod. I don't think any of us were particularly sort of buzzing during the pre-season or the close season. But by the time Saturday came along, I was like, right, football's back. You have that hope like you do every season. And my main hope was that we weren't going to see the type of away performance that we saw so many times last season, and that we'd worked on a lot of the things that were wrong. And unfortunately, it was a bit rinse and repeat from some of those poor performances from last season. Just like you say, we look really slow at the back. They didn't need to be particularly brilliant to beat us, which again happened a lot with teams last season. And we didn't seem to have a plan B, and it was stick to plan A regardless of what's happening on the pitch. And that was a real frustration for me, that it was just kind of, and look, it's first game of the season, so I'm not going to go overboard. But it was just the way it was so similar to so many games last season. And we can't say there's 7 or 8 new signings in there. You know, nearly all of them have already played under Critchley, probably bar one. And it was just more of the same, really, this kind of same formation, same style of play, this kind of reluctance to get shots off or to try and do something different. It's like it's been drilled into them that this is what you do at all times, regardless of what the opposition are doing. And like you say, easy ball over the top. That guy wasn't exactly lightning quick, but didn't really need to be. I would say, to use a cricket term for Gracie, he was medium pace. And, he puts the ball in the back of the net. The second one, yeah, it's a deflection. But again, we didn't really do anything to stop him getting into that position in the first place. And we just made it easy for them. And, well, we'll see whether it's a one-off or, we're going to have more of the same in the away games. And it was the home form last season that probably kept him in a job and nearly got us into the playoffs. And we absolutely have to address it for this season. And, all right, we did to a certain degree. We'll come on to the Burton game. But, yeah, it was just really frustrating for me. And the same sort of thing that it was crying out for subs at half-time and he didn't do it. So what is he expecting to happen differently in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half that hadn't happened in the first half? He might as well said to the ref, just start on 60 minutes and I'll bring a sub on. Because it was just a complete waste of the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes in the second half. So, yeah, I don't want to be negative, but it was just really frustrating that it was, like I say, rinse and repeat from quite a few of the away games last season. That was the biggest frustration for me.
Andy, very hard not to be negative about things with how the season ended last season. The style of football we've become accustomed to, and the fact that Crawley are widely tipped across the board for relegation and to finish bottom, and for us to not be at the races against Crawley in the opening day of the seasons, it's disappointing to say the least. 2-0 down as well at half time.
Yeah, just I think from my point of view, I'm probably seen as the more negative element, I suppose.
No, not for a second. I don't believe that.
No, but against the manager. But I honestly wanted to come into the season and think, right, okay, we've got to give him a go. You hope with new players, things change and things like that, and maybe they will. But it's how people find it so easy to get around and between our back three, and other people play it, and you just think they just make it look more really solid, and we just don't. We just I don't know. This away form has got to sort itself out in the league. It's got to, because realistically, look, if we'd have won at Reading on the last day, I think we'd get into the playoffs, do we? Or it'd just been a travesty, really, if we had. But it would have been just Blackpool if we'd have won and gone into the playoffs and got up, and had that madness of the end of the season. But he's got to sort it out, because the fans, I don't think the fans will stand it again. And looking at it, I don't think the fans went crazy at Crawley, did they? I think they sort of gave him this one, but I don't think they'd do it again. And just we've got to find the way through it. And maybe Baggott is the one. And I like Carey. I like Casey, sorry, but is he the man to control it? We need it looks as though we need a controller that pulls Pennington and Husband into the right positions when we're defending.
John, I
Tim.
didn't watch the game, but I think I think we've got to be careful here that Crawley might have been tipped to finish bottom of the league, but I think they've got this rather strange or had this rather strange setup last year, didn't they? Where it was a very stat-based approach to how they put the squad together, which seems to work really, really well. And then they basically, as I understand it, only in the most general terms, they lost most of that team at the end of last season because they were all on short-term contracts. So they basically had to recruit again. So I think the view that they're going to finish bottom is born out of the fact that they've effectively had to recruit a whole new team. But if it's following the model that they followed last season that got them promoted, then they might actually be a bit of a surprise package. That's me trying to put a positive spin on it, because it's not great, is it, to start, as Nick alluded to, effectively as we ended last season in the way that we approached away games. And I'm one of the fortunate ones who didn't manage to watch it because I was too busy touring the Colosseum and the other delights of Rome on Saturday. And I saw we were 2-0 down at half time, and I'll be honest, I thought, right, well, I'm not going to go and hunt it out to watch the second half. There was better things I could be doing. But that's all I would say. Just because the tip to finish bottom doesn't mean that they will finish bottom. What I did, I listened to Critchley's post match just before. Actually, I was having a bit of a constitutional walk before the podcast, and there seemed to be a lot of the sound bites that you heard last season. I noticed actually there was the bullshit bingo being played on Saturday, and I think a large part of what they put on the bingo card actually was used. And I think we need to think, so we need him to approach things differently, and that includes the way that he analyzes the game. He spoke about, from what I've seen of people's reactions, we weren't at the races at all, and yet Critchley thinks we should have got something out of it. And I think I haven't heard anybody really say that. I've watched the goals back just on the edited highlights. Our goal was it's right saying theirs was deflected, but our goal was tantamount to a fluke. Although equally, you've got to commend Fletcher for doing what we want to see players do, which is don't give up on a lost cause, close down, and sometimes you get a bit of luck out of it. So, but I think we've got, like Nick says, we've got to have a fundamentally different approach. I am actually encouraged by some of the signings, particularly the late signings that I know you've already spoken about this, but I haven't. I'm quite encouraged by some of the late signings, but then I'm the eternal optimist. I'm the yin to Andy's yang. Maybe not quite.
But I am Tim. Honestly, I am encouraged by some of the late signings, and going back to what you were saying about how his sound bites are and things. I think we all hope that Keogh is the one that challenges his mantra after games when we've played. Let's face it, we played awfully at times last season, and there didn't seem any challenge to him. And I think we all hope with Keogh coming back as a coach that he will challenge. Whether he can in his first year of coaching, who knows? But you'd like to think that he will challenge those soundbite bits that he's putting in. And let's be fair, he's not. What he says in the changing room isn't particularly what he says to the media, right? I'm sure, but like Keogh, hopefully, will bring a bit of how can we say sense to it all, and hopefully put a more football perspective, more fans' perspective on it in a little way. Let's see.
I think the other thing is, Andy, that like Tim's alluded to, the late signings, do look decent from the bits we've seen of them, and the side that started against Crawley could end up quite different as the season progresses. We'll go on to talk about Burton, where there was 2 or 3 decent performances, and they could well be players who could hopefully force their way into the team, because they've certainly got, for the likes of Apter and Finnegan, a little bit about them in terms of attacking, which is and creativity, which is something that we missed so many times in away games last season, and Baggett at the back in the Burton game that will come on to look very assured as well. So he could make a big difference, and then possibly
Evans.
Yeah, somebody alongside Evans, whether that ends up being Finnegan, and we signed Don Ballard late last week, didn't we, from Southampton, who comes with very good pedigree, knows League One from his time at Reading, where he scored a few goals, and obviously Elliot Embleton as well. We know what he can do. So once he gets fitter, those 3 or 4 players in and performing well with Apter, it could look a heck of a lot different, not just at home, but away from home. And I think that might be what it needs, but it's whether Critch, with his cautious first approach and his, I suppose, lack of tinkering, which is very different from the first time round when he was, if anything, people thought he tinkered around too much, and he looked at what the opposition were and matched us to them. And it's the complete opposite now. So it's whether we will see some of those players. I'm sure we'd all be shouting for them to start against Stockport, but whether it happens, I suppose we will see.
If he's brave enough to drop Norburn and CJ.
Let's talk, Nick, just quickly before we move on, about Rob Apter, 8 minutes against Crawley. CJ's probably, I'm sure he'd admit he didn't have the best of games, quite poor by his standards. And I think for Apter only to get 8 minutes I was hoping it's not a sign of things to come, because based on his performance at Burton, he's got to be a nailed-on starter against Stockport. He has to start.
You would hope so. I mean, I think the caveat against Burton was obviously we're down to 10 men, which allowed him probably quite a bit more space than he would get. Probably certainly if he started on Saturday. But what he did do, he looks an intelligent player to me. He gets his head up. He's quite calm. He knows when to put a ball into the back post, when to put a cross in, or when to just lay it off like he did for Evans' goal. He doesn't really run down blind alleys. He knows what he wants to do. He tries to get forward at every opportunity. Great control. And with CJ, it's a toss-up sometimes, isn't it? He'll beat his man and might put a decent cross in, or you could just as easily run it out of play, not get his head up, fall over, whatever it might be. There is that, it's that inconsistency, isn't it? That's not to say he can't play a part. I mean, Critch could go crazy and stick him on the left and Rob Apter on the right. Probably unlikely it will happen, but you never know. Yeah, but we've got to be careful with Rob Apter that we don't just pin all our hopes on him. But there's certainly the talent there. And I hope if he only gets 10-minute cameos at the end of games in the league, then it's a waste, really. He might as well have gone back out on loan. He showed what he could do at League Two, and I'm confident that he could, if he gets given enough game time, that he can do it in this league. And we need to accept that sometimes he'll have a bad game, he'll make mistakes, sometimes he won't make the right decision, but he's a young lad, so you expect that. But we all want someone to come through from the academy, and he's our best chance of it happening. And I do hope he gets the game time.
Just two quick things, Nick. There, number one, his stats are off the scale against Burton. I mean, absolutely off the scale. Right? And if he carried on that, he'd just be a superstar. We'd be selling him for millions. But we've got to, as you said, so remember they were down to 10 men and tiring. When he really was making massive effect in the last quarter of the game, really. And then also, I'm reliably informed that playing for Tranmere last year, he ripped Stockport apart twice down that side. And so consequently, he's got good stats against them. So maybe it's he suits the way they play to play against them.
Daniel, our Stockport fan, is nodding in the background.
The cunning plan, of course, could be don't play Apter on the basis that they're expecting us to, and they'll play CJ and he'll be our secret weapon.
All right.
So there'll be somebody who thinks that's a good idea. There'll be somebody who thinks that's a good idea, and he's probably our manager.
He'll be their 12th man along with Arthur Stockport, who we give tickets to.
Right, let's move on to the Burton game. Any positives to take out of the Crawley game? I'll give you one. We had a quite considerably higher XG. For those that like these sort of things, 1.77 to their 1.06. We had a lot more shots, and we had 3 big chances, all fluffed. Probably all of those were fluffed by Norburn in that first half.
Fletcher missed a good one just after he scored, didn't he? Sort of did an air shot, whereas if he connected it, it probably would have gone in. But it's different. I mean, XG, yeah, you got to put it in the net, though, haven't you? At the end of the day, so I think we just put that one to bed, move on, and hope that it's a one-off for this season. He said, hopefully.
Plenty of teams have had good seasons after having a like woeful first day, haven't they?
Of course they have, and it's what like we say, it's one game. But yeah, well, we won't go back over it. I think we've
been sullied though, Nick, by the previous season, haven't we, with what's gone on. I agree.
Yeah.
We're taking it out of take that out of the picture, and then I agree with that. Time will tell.
Scarred word, John.
Yeah. Scarred, better. Right, let's move on to the Burton game quickly. Started very well for Blackpool, obviously. Burton player sent off after, 10 minutes? Ashley Fletcher winning the penalty. Fletcher steps up, and I think the penalty can be described as feeble at best.
I think you'd have been really disappointed if there had been our defender got sent off. I think you'd have been pretty good. I thought it was a double jeopardy myself because I don't think he moved his arm away from his body too much, if at all.
No, it was sort of at him, wasn't it? At first, I thought, "Oh, it's a red card," and you only got one very quick replay, didn't you? And obviously, their player was going mad at the ref about it, sort of saying it was just right at me, and it's hit my arm rather than he's, like you say, you see these red cards when someone tries to get away with a little crafty save and hopes the ref doesn't see it. And it wasn't quite that, but letter of the law, the way it is. It's these days it's a red card, and you take it, don't you? But then we didn't capitalise on it. It was just it was a poor penalty. And I didn't think he did too bad after. Overall, Ashley Fletcher, he put himself about a bit. There was no lack of effort, but other than with that penalty, which was really, really poor.
Mixed messages in the chat. MB says clear handball and red card. Rob say thought the red was a bit harsh, but I would have been fuming if it had been against one of our players. Tim, did you see this one, or are you still on your travels?
Well, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it live. I've watched the goal highlights since. Do you know when you're watching it? Sometimes you struggle to actually see because it's it's a bit juddery, the picture. But I think I'm sort of with. I think I'm with the harsh category on balance. I think early in the game, I don't think he's done it deliberately. And you're back to this the moot points, aren't you? As to when is it ball to hand, when is it hand to ball, and whatever. I think I would have been a bit cheesed off if we'd gone down to 10 men after that part. After that so early on the game, and I think I got the impression we seem to struggle a bit. Obviously, the second half as they tire, we start to use the ball a bit better, and obviously from there create some good chances. But we did seem to cough and splutter a bit in that first half from the limited highlights they seem to show of that.
But steadily came that they just ran out of a bit of energy, I think, and they hadn't got the players that could hold the ball, and they needed to get up the pitch. They had a little 5-minute spell, didn't they? Where they had 2 or 3 corners very close together, but they just couldn't hold the ball enough to get it up the pitch, and
it's incredibly difficult, isn't it, with 10 men over such a lengthy period of time. I think you can your adrenaline can keep you going for about 30 minutes. But I think after that, then it starts to have a significant impact. And when you've got players like Apter playing out wide, it's really in those wide positions where the space can be found and where you can do your damage, it's good to firstly see him have such a positive contribution. Secondly, actually for us to hit the back of the net on a few occasions, because one of the biggest as is the criticism at Crawley, is that when the chances present themselves that we're not taking them. And I know David's mentioned in the chat that normally they hit the post, but hitting the post isn't hitting the target. So at the end of the day, we've got to be more ruthless. We've got to take our chances, and we've got to convert this possession that we obsess about into goals and into points. And so the positive, obviously, from Tuesday night is that we've got players finding the back of the net, and Pennington in particular. Coming up with a brace is great for him. I listened to his interview after just before. He was buzzing about that, and we do need some of these goals to come from different parts of the pitch, don't we? We were incredibly over reliant on Rhodes last season, and we want defenders scoring from corners and from set plays. We want midfielders chipping in with the goals. We don't want it all being down to one player who when they're marked out the game, we can't seem to do anything else. This Ballard looks interesting, and Apter got a few goals for Tranmere last year, so he's got the ability to cut in and score. I just hope that these players are given the chance and that we don't play the safety card all the time.
Apter's only downside on Tuesday was missing a sitter at the back post, but otherwise he was brilliant, and like it'd been a 9.5 out of 10 or a 9+ on the fielding scale if he'd have netted that. But what was nice as well in you saying that we're getting goals from corners and things like that, you got to have delivery, and finally we got a delivery. We got Apter whipping it into the near post, and it gave Pennington the chance to run onto it. And how good's that? Having the quality of delivery, he got 2 assists Apter the other night. Could have had more.
Well, if you remember, just a couple of seasons ago, Andy, we haven't seen much of him, remember, because obviously when they're being out alone on Tranmere last season. But when he had his few cameo appearances out of the season
first time he started, Tim. First time he started.
Yeah, no, but when he's come on, he was taking some of the set plays, wasn't he? He looked quite good then. I'm going back 2 years now, so it's the dim and distant. But I think we always felt that there was a player there, and we always felt that I recall him taking a couple of corners during that one of these 15-minute substitution appearances, and he looks decent, and we've missed that massively, because how many times have our corners not beaten the first man, and most certainly we've not got this perception that the generally great delivery, have we? So if we've actually got, that's another reason, Mr. Critchley, to play him, because it's set plays have been our Benoit for God knows how long, haven't they?
It can go either way.
We've been
it can go either way. Nick, what's the main thing I noticed? He can go inside and he can go outside, and there's a final ball at the end of both of those passages of play. So for a defender, it's an absolute nightmare to play against someone like that.
Well, that's it, yeah. And like we say, it's the caveat that they were tiring as the game went on. So he got more and more space, but you've still got to do something with when you've got the ball. And I think David's put in the comments there 2 goals from corners. When's the last time that happened? I mean, it got to the point for me with our set pieces where you almost don't get excited because you know that nothing's coming from it. We were terrible for set pieces for the last couple of seasons. So that's something we can address with Apter as well. For me, it's another reason for him to be starting. And I suppose we'll see whether he does. But the other thing was, I think Finnegan scored, didn't he, the first goal? Evans got the last. So like Tim says, it's good for if we can get other people to chip in other than Jordan Rhodes. He was brilliant last season, but he's another year on, a couple of injuries. We can't rely on him week in, week out. He probably shouldn't play, 90 minutes Tuesday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, or whatever it will be, because he is knocking on a bit. Although he's a very fit player, but it can take it out of you. So we've got other options to score goals. Then that's no bad thing at all. And I thought also as well the other night, Baggett at the back at centre half was fantastic. He looked really, really composed. Decent pace on him. Obviously, he's a big lad, so he can get up for corners as well. So again, it'll be interesting to see whether he can nail down a place, because it's only one game, but he looks a really good player for me.
He'll be good though Saturday, Baggett, because he'll be on the naughty step for the last 2 days for playing lovely diagonal balls into the wing backs. He's just like, to be fair, he played two balls that completely knocked him wide open. And you just thought, like, he's that middle centre back, but he can also play. He's a threat at corners, and he can play, and he looks a unit, doesn't he? So, like, he might be a good one, by the looks of it. So, like, I'm quite happy to see him in the team for sure.
And Zach Ashworth as well, obviously played, didn't he, on the left? And he looked quite assured as well. A couple of his crosses were hit and miss, but you get that. And it's another option, isn't it? Whether he's going to play Coulson or Ashworth, it's good to have an option in each position.
Certainly is. Let's hope these.
Can I just take one thing?
Yep.
And John's comments in the thing, because we won at Burton and then thus got the Blackburn game. I don't want all our fringe players to play at Blackburn. I want to go there and bloody win. We haven't won there for about 47
1977.
years. Yeah, absolutely mad, isn't it? Like, we'll obviously take a few there with it being so local, and just I don't want us to go there and give it up, and like Stockport did the other night. They got hammered by them, didn't they? I don't want us to. I want to go there and win. I want us to, why can't we have a cup run? Why does it have to affect everything if we don't? And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea having a cup run, but getting a big game at home is what we look forward to, isn't it?
Stockport getting hammered. I think that's quite a good time to bring Daniel in welcome Daniel from the Scarf Begara Wore. Sorry about that, Daniel. We've got to over schedule a bit for the lateness, but yeah.
That's all right.
Welcome to
great
the
chat, chaps. Just what you were saying earlier on, Crawley. Crawley will pull the pants down on a lot of teams this season. They were one of the best footballing teams in League Two last year. They gave us 2 really good games, and a lot of people don't take credit for or give credit to Scott Lindsay. Scott Lindsay is an absolute, for me, one of the best managers coming up in the Football League. When Dave Challoner leaves Stockport, because Dave Challoner is better than Stockport, he will move on to manage at a lot higher level than what Stockport will get to. Scott Lindsay and also the chap at Reading are 2 managers that would be on my shortlist today to look at, because he's really, really good. So I know every critic has said, Crawley will finish bottom. Yes, they will if Scott Lindsay leaves during the season. But while Scott Lindsay is at that club, then I wouldn't be surprised if they stay up.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think it's quite easy, isn't it, just to make lazy assumptions about teams.
Yeah, and they did it they did it last season as well in League Two. They said, Crawley will finish bottom. They put all them newspaper cuttings up in the changing room, and then they get promoted in the playoff final.
It's right, as been said in the chat, the Nobbers manager. The Nobbers have obviously got rid of their manager, and he's one of the people they're looking at.
Yeah,
and,
I'm not surprised. I would as well. Honestly, any League One, even Championship clubs if they're getting rid of their manager and they're not looking at Scott Lindsay, then they're doing something wrong. Same with the chap at Reading. I thought he did a fantastic job when he came in last season, and same again, the sort of football they play on a budget they've got. They don't get credit really for that.
If he's got half a brain, he won't go to that bloody lot down the road.
He was at Swindon, and same again. He's one of them. Unfortunately, he sort of gets lumbered, Scott Lindsay, with clubs that are a bit of a mess behind the scenes, and I think that's more credit to him that he manages to actually play winning sides, but plays attractive winning football as well. So yeah, I mean, like I say, and let's say they have had a bit of a fire sale during the summer. We've ended up picking up their goalkeeper and paid a fee for him during the summer, which will probably start on Saturday. Corey Adai, and he played last Saturday against Cambridge, and he's exciting. He will annoy certain fans, and he'll give fans heart attacks because he likes to play football. He thinks he's a central midfielder than a goalkeeper, but he's a good lad.
Okay, Daniel, let's just very briefly, before we go on about Stockport and the upcoming match, give us a bit of information about yourself. How long you supported Stockport for? How did you become a fan, and how did you get involved in the pod? I do like the name, the Scarf Begara Wore, because all of us are of a certain vintage on this show that we do remember Danny Begara, and we do remember quite a few tussles with Stockport, and they were generally always above us in the league, old money championship, when we were in our youth quite some time ago.
So I was born a Stockport County fan. There was no obvious, at the time, obviously I was still living in Stockport. So there's obviously options there, but they were never given to me, and gladly they weren't. So I was born a Stockport County fan. I lived in Stockport till I was 10 years old, and then the family moved to the arse of England, as we say, which is Lowestoft, just south of Great Yarmouth. Or
used to have the Pontins there, didn't it, Daniel?
Well, the Pontins has just been sold to actually Sizewell C power plant, and they're going to house all the workers in there for the new nuclear power plant from January. So it's just a little bit south from baby Blackpool, Great Yarmouth. So yeah, and I'm a season ticket holder with my lad and my lad's friend.
You're a season ticket holder, and you come all that way every game.
Not all of them, but most of them. But same again, if you want to go to away games nowadays, you need to have a season ticket as well. So I probably do half the home games, and probably a bit more than the away games and the home ones. This week we've come up for the whole week, so I'm staying at my mum's for the week. I'm in the car at the moment because I'm getting some charge in the car as I'm talking to you guys. Ready for the trip to Blackpool tomorrow morning. And then we're
another EV enthusiast.
Don't bore him.
Here we get into that.
So
him is another EV enthusiast, Daniel. So if you want to talk about charge points, he's your man.
Oh yeah, it's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield. So we'll be up Blackpool Friday and Saturday night, and then we'll be driving from Blackpool back to Lowestoft via Great Yarmouth to drop it with the lads' mate off Sunday morning. So that's a round about 290-mile trip home on a Sunday. But
there's that horrible section at the Daniel that once you get past around Lincoln or just south of Lincoln, and it's like there's speed cameras all the way in there. It's like you've got to stick rigidly to 50, haven't you?
For me, you have to drive to Newark before you actually start your journey. The nearest motorway to me in Lowestoft is in Holland. So it sort of tells you sort of have to drive 2 hours before you actually do, you start your journey, and it is like driving to the end of the world because it's single carriageway, a lot of it, with farm traffic or caravans. Like I say, lots of speed cameras on the bits that you think you can overtake a bit of traffic on just to annoy you. So yeah, it's a long haul, I must admit, but I'm used to it now, and I wouldn't change it.
Good effort, mate. That's a good effort. And the scarf that Begara wore, I'm intrigued by the name of the pod.
So obviously, Danny Begara, that's where it comes from. The first, and I still say it, the first foreign manager to lead an English side out at English club side out at Wembley. When he led Stockport County out, obviously he had ties with Rochdale as well. Close friend with David Plea. I think he worked with him at Sheffield Wednesday and England under 20s and under 18s level and stuff like that. Fantastic manager for us. Lived opposite the ground, and like I say, that's obviously where the title comes from in tribute to Danny Begara.
Mm.
And he was always on Elton Wells. Wellesby show.
The soccer night.
Yeah. And he was. You always played Friday nights, didn't you? You and Tranmere played Friday nights. The idea being that you'd get bigger crowds, and so you could attract a few of the City and United and Everton, Liverpool fans. You both used to do it quite a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, and that, to be honest, that was my youth. Friday night, county night, before we moved obviously away out of Stockport. But then Saturday morning would be St. Greavesy, where you get to watch the goals on St. Greavesy. And that was my youth, basically, and like I say, I'd love... I mean, it's very hard now, obviously, to get night games in with obviously working and stuff like that and the travelling and stuff like that. But there is something special about games under the floodlights.
You generally beat us as well on these Friday night games, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
Wasn't good for me on that Tuesday night game where they accused me of throwing a 10p on. That's when I got the name the Stockport one.
I was always going to ask you about that, Andy, where that name come from. Because Andy's name on our message board, Daniel, is Free the Stockport one. So there you go.
Yeah, so I got nicked at Stockport, but this steward said I'd thrown a 10p coin on us, and so I spent till 4 o'clock in the morning in the Stockport police cells until they realised that it was all a load of crap, and they watched the CCTV, and the steward had just made it up. I think it was in retaliation for us doing some damage at their ground 3 or 4 weeks before in the league game.
Was it
Anyway.
in the 90th minute or the 7th minute of the game though? That's the problem.
Half time, they nicked me.
What was the score, Andy?
We actually, well, the copper actually, I think Blinkhorn scored and we won in the LDV. It was in an LDV game of all things.
Did Stockport come to ours and win 5-0 as well once, if I remember right?
Oh,
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Someone's mentioned it in the chat there. Luke
Beckett.
Patrick.
Our nemesis throughout the years, Luke Beckett.
Oh. He was a quality player, Luke Beckett. Same again, I think he ended up getting a bad injury and that was the end of him, really. But yeah, no, he was quality for us, Luke Beckett.
He was a player we tried to sign on multiple occasions, didn't we?
23 times, I think.
Do you remember when we tried to sign Kevin Francis when Owen was splashing the cash? It didn't come off, did it? But it was a lot of money at the time.
I remember Big Kev. Yeah.
No, is it funny enough? We were just watching some YouTube videos of him earlier on today of Big Kev, and trying to explain, because I say my lad's mate, he's been coming along since the National League season. So this is now his 4th season, and I buy him a season ticket as well to come along. And it was like I say, he's never been to football before that. Never would have got the opportunity to go to a game live. So he comes along and he tags along with us now on there. And like I say, we sort of try and educate him a little bit and show him the videos of Big Kev. And it's like, you couldn't believe the amount of goals he actually would score with his feet. Everyone, 6'7", you'd think he's just going to head it in all the time. But the goals he would score with his feet were just fantastic goals and stuff like that. And he found it hard to believe now that Big Kev's actually an armed police officer in Canada.
Is he really?
Is he?
Yeah,
Is he
he's
really?
an armed police officer in Canada now. He's obviously his daughter's had some success with the British Team GB netball team and British England netball team, and they had really good success with that. But yeah, Big Kev is an armed police officer in Canada.
That's a policeman that you do what he says when he tells you what to do.
Yeah,
Big Kev with a semi-automatic rifle. There'll be very many rioters taking liberties with him, I don't think. Daniel, so Stockport dropped out of the league in what was it, 2011, 2012, with it was a bit earlier. Carlton Palmer.
no, yeah, it was.
Tell us well it all went,
No,
all went
it
wrong
was-
for Stockport.
Oh, well, when it all went wrong was when we were in the Championship, funny enough, and the owner sold the club to Sale Sharks, and it was very quickly recognised that they had no interest in the football, and they just wanted the club for the Edgeley Park and the stadium, and when the team turned up and there's a big skip outside in the car park and they've chucked all the football memorabilia out the boardroom into the skip, and they've moved the club shop for county into a little office cupboard, should we say, and so they could have the club stop for sale, and that was the beginning of the end. And we quickly got assets stripped. The manager at the time was Carlton Palmer when the takeover happened, and you had players that were just sold under him, and players that Ricky Lambert, for example, that went on to play for obviously England, Liverpool, players like that were just completely sold from underneath us, and it just going, as once you sort of on that slide, until something actually changes majorly, then you're going downhill. We got to the lowest point, on the verge of being relegated out of League Two. Jim Gannon came in, saved us from being relegated the following season, then obviously looking to get promotion. I think we narrowly missed out on the playoffs that season. The following year we got to the playoff final, beat Rochdale, and then we ended up in League One with teams like Leeds United, Leicester City, Southampton, Norwich, and then it just unfortunately we ended up going into administration over 300 grand, I believe it was, which is ridiculous nowadays. And then it just went downhill very quickly. We ended up, the administrators sacked Jim Gannon was the first thing the administrators did, as daft as it was, because he was obviously the biggest asset at the time at the club. And we just ended up really just hitting rock bottom. We ended up with points deductions, getting relegated with, I think, one of the worst tallies you could probably get. And then we slipped straight through League Two, really, really quickly. You get into National League and it's a horrible place to go, and you think it's going to be stable, but slide, a couple of seasons and bump National League North football, part-time regional football, going to places like Colwyn Bay and North Ferriby, and you just think, how worse can it get, to be honest? But there was still a club. There was still 3,500 fans turning up week in, week out. And Jim came back to manage us, got us out the National League North, and then being a National League club just before COVID, or has COVID struck, we got bought out by our current owner, Mark Stott, who has a bit of money with his property group, the Vita Group, and he's not splashed the cash as in doing what some clubs do and just buying overpriced players that are 36 and well over the hill. He's invested into the team, but he's invested into the stadium. When you come to Edgeley Park, it looks as good as what it's ever done, to be honest. There's plans to expand that over the next 3 years as well into an 18,000 stadium from 10,000 as it is now. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things. Training, we were training on borrowed pitches from schools and stuff like that. They've went straight out and took a lease for the old Man City training facilities at Carrington. So we've been training there for the last 2-3 seasons now. And so it's just the money. It's not just on the team or self-interest. There's a lot of money that's been invested in the educational side of it, the academy side, the training facilities, the infrastructure, and and as you have that momentum when you're going down the hill, we've got that momentum and that push and that desire and enthusiasm and everything. As you guys know, once that feel-good factor's there, you feel like there's nothing going to stop you, and that's how it feels at the moment.
Obviously, you've had a good result on.
But you have played in the Premier League though, so you have them moments, them memories of you have been at the highest at the high. The highest we've ever been is 8th in the Championship. And I know there is when Mark Stott took over. When we were in the National League, he set a target of being a Championship club within 7 to 8 years. Now we've managed to get to League One in 4 years, which obviously leaves him, 3 years to get to one more promotion.
What do you?
In one way, it saved our club getting relegated from the Premier League. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Daniel, what do you attribute your success? Obviously, Dave Challoner, you've mentioned. I read a stat about him the other day. He only ever gets promotion. Every club he's been involved with, he's taken them up.
Yeah,
or in a promotion campaign.
I think it's the whole environment that the club have set. A lot of credit has to obviously go to Mark Stott, the owner, but Simon Wilson, who's a director of football as such. Now he's come in. One of his first things that he did was sack Jim Gannon, which obviously Jim Gannon, being a legend as a player and manager, upset a lot of people. And then he brought brought in somebody that none of the fans liked, which was Simon Rusk, who was basically a youth academy coach at Brighton. And in all fairness, his record, he had a 50% win rate, and it weren't too bad, but he missed out in the playoffs in the National League, in the playoff semi-final to Hartlepool, to Dave Challoner, Hartlepool side, and we lost out on that. And then we started the season off not very well. He ended up sacking Rusk, and basically everybody said just go and get Dave Challoner. Obviously an ex-player, played for us. Like you say, fantastic record of always getting rather in the playoffs or higher every season of every club that he's managed, from Colwyn Bay to Fylde to Hartlepool to us. And he's a fantastic manager, to be honest. He's really, really good. Like I said to you, it's not a question of when Dave Challoner leaves Stockport County. It's a question, not if, it's when. Because Dave Challoner, I've always said, will manage rather at the top end of the Championship or Premier League. He is that good. His interviews are very honest and forthright. He has the ability to change tactics in the game, and he's getting better each season. Each season we're seeing improvements in the way he sets the teams up, the in-game play, how he moves positions about. He doesn't. A lot of people say, well, what's your formation? Well, we have about 5 different formations. We have, with the ball, without the ball. If certain opposition play a different way, then he'll move a full back into midfield. He'll play lopsided back 4, so he'll push one full back further than the other, so it looks like a one-sided 3 at the back. And he just keeps on inventing himself again. And like you say, for me, he's been fantastic.
Just
something
like
we're crying
Drixley.
out for, fellas. Yeah. So we're completely rigid in our formation, in our style of play. I think, as Andy's mentioned there, we don't react to games. We've got one style play, and I think that's what we need to see, really.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Chandler, from when he came in, his first game was Bolton in the FA Cup, which we drew, and the mantra has always been intensity, front foot football, being brave on the ball. He won't necessarily criticise players for making mistakes, but if you're not brave on the ball and you're not willing to take a risk, and you're only going to pass it sideways and backwards, he will really rip into you. If you try and beat your man, turn your man, and you lose the ball, he won't. He'll have a goal maybe, but he won't have a goal as if you just went. Same again on Saturday against Cambridge, 92nd minute. Somebody played an easy ball, a lazy ball to Bate, who ended up being clattered into. And he was absolutely furious about that because it was an unnecessary ball, sloppy ball, hospital ball, and it's them sort of standards that he really pushes us on. And he's like I say, he's a breath of fresh air. I think he's fantastic, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, there'll be some fans that not happy because you never please all the fans all the time. But yeah, like I say, when he took over, when we were in the National League, we ended up beating Bolton up in the FA Cup. Goes on I think it was 23 game unbeaten run, and ends up getting us up as champions. First season back in the Football League. We are notoriously bad at the last few seasons, starting really badly. Usually only get by mid-September. We only usually have 3 points or 4 points on the board. Same again, started off really, really badly. Ended up getting into the playoffs, losing to Wembley to Carlisle on penalties. Last season, exactly the same. I think we had 3 points on the board by September, and we ended up. I'm gone really dark now. Ended up obviously going up as champions. The same again, equalled the League 2 record because of consecutive wins, which was 13. Equalled it with Luton.
Wow.
So he's got this habit of putting really sort of win runs together, or unbeaten runs of 10 to 20 games, and it. Like I've said before, in this division and most divisions, you could be 15th, put 10, 12 games together, and you'll end up being 5th or 6th. Me personally, I'll be happy if we finish 12th this season. I know the players are looking for a playoff spot, and they think playoffs is more than doable. I know a lot of journalists and stuff, the same ones that have said Crawley will finish rock bottom, have said that we'll finish 4th or 5th. But for us, we're just excited to be back at this level. We're excited to go in Blackpool away. We sing about going Blackpool away. It's better than going to Colwyn Bay away, I tell you. And if you've ever been to Vauxhall Motors, I mean, that is just an experience in itself. Let me put some light on in the car.
We've got our ground a ticket on Saturday, haven't we?
There you go. That's better.
Yeah. I'm just sat in the car charging up. So.
Well, Tim, how much electricity is that using, having the light on?
Anyway, you're bringing a few on Saturday. If we move a bit on to Saturday's game, you're bringing a decent
number
say that again. Here. You're bringing a decent number of fans on Saturday, I believe.
Hold on. I've lost you. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's put the radio on. Have you put the radio on?
Hold on. I think my car stereo is knocking off my Bluetooth.
Bloody EVs, Tim. You sort yourself out, Daniel. Just put you backstage and we'll...
Are you there, guys?
You back on?
Let me have a look.
We can hear you now.
Yeah. We'll just put him backstage while he sorts himself out. Stockport have signed Callum Connolly, haven't they? And I've just noticed on the transfer market website they've got him as a value of £600,000. Didn't start though, and they beat Cambridge.
Is he injured? I think. I don't know. I might be wrong.
Oh, is he?
But
They've
they've
got
signed a lad
Fiorini as well, haven't they?
And Louis Barry, who they had on loan last season, who scored a lot. So
yeah,
it'll be an interesting game. Just thinking for time wise, let's get our predictions in. I'm going to go.
Daniel. Can't hear him. Can't hear you.
I'm going to go for, if you can think back to, I think it was 91, we played them at Bloomfield Road. I think Andy Garner may have not. We won 3-2. So I'm going to go 3-2.
Yeah, you know, 3-2 Blackpool. Gricey.
5-1 Blackpool.
Can you hear me now, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
5-1 Blackpool, because after 10 minutes, I'll explain my rationale. After 10 minutes, after the 911th sideways and backwards pass, Challoner will go and slot Critchley and just say, sort it out, lad. I'm sick of watching that, and we'll go on the attack. And no, in all seriousness, I think we're going to take all the positives from Tuesday night's game. He's going to start Apter. Apter's going to rip Stockport a new one, and we're going to win 5-1.
I'm going to take a more level-headed view and go for 1-1. Tim, what are you thinking?
Well, I would have to bring some balance to this this prediction effort from Arlox. It's far too positive. I genuinely cannot see any other result than a Stockport win. I hope I'm wrong. As in my usual way, I hope there's a bit of reverse psychology in there, but I'm going to go for a 2-0 defeat.
See, what you have to be careful, guys, is I think a lot of people might read into the midweek score line a bit too much against Blackburn, where we lost 6-1. There was one player that started that game that actually played against Cambridge on the Saturday before, and that was a team made up of basically first-year scholars. 16, 17-year-olds that have didn't even play in pre-season, because we've got about 9 injuries at the moment. And Challoner did say post-match Cambridge that the kids will play on Tuesday and it will be a painful night. That's why a lot of county fans are going to Blackpool happy as Larry, because they all lumped on Blackburn on Tuesday at 6-4 and absolutely made a packet. So they'll be looking to spend their money in Blackpool over the weekend, because these county fans we know that ended up sticking 400 quid on Blackburn to win at 6-4 and were laughing all the way to the bank because they knew that it was going to be a team of 16 and 17-year-olds playing.
They're going to need the money for ticket prices, aren't they? 'Cause it's 31 quid.
Well, to be honest, we're not bothered about that. We're just enjoying the fact that we're going to Blackpool. Like I say, have you ever been to Vauxhall Motors? Have you ever been to Colwyn Bay, North Ferriby? Do you know what I mean? Everyone thinks, it's really low and down, and go to North Ferriby. Go and try and find Vauxhall Motors on a map. It's not even a place. It's not even a place. You can't find it on a map. So, it's
Daniel,
it'll be very much. Sorry.
When I say 5-1, right? Everyone would have expected me to say Blackpool 1, Stockport 5. I'm just working on a complete reverse psychology that have backed us to lose about every week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the starting lineup, I think, will be the same as what we played against Cambridge. We've got a few players that look like they're returning from injury that might be on the bench. So we've been told that Tanto Alafi might get a 20-minute run out at the end of the game, which will be good to see him come back.
Is Fiorini fit, Daniel? Is Fiorini
no,
fit?
He got a knock in Spain out in the pre-season. So him and Connolly basically went down whilst walking across the training pitch, and has been on crutches ever since, Connolly. Fiorini ended up in the game against Derby getting a wallop and coming off after about 10 minutes, and we've not seen him since either. But we've got, 9 injuries at the moment. What you would say first team players. So that's why he played the kids on Tuesday against Blackburn. And it was, I went and watched it. It was Blackburn. It wasn't what necessarily he did with the ball. It's the movement off the ball. They were fantastic. They just ended up finding the space all the time. But
They
no,
played
I
their
mean,
full hit, didn't they?
yeah, exactly. Even that
played
Schmodic,
and-
who should be playing in the Premier League in 2 weeks' time by the end of the month. You'd expect him to be a Premier League player, and and he looked absolutely different gravy compared to anybody on the pitch. Never mind county players, even the Blackburn players. He looked, 2 levels ahead of everybody. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm expecting the same team lineup as maybe Cambridge, maybe a stronger bench. They'll be playing very front football, very fast football, attacking in different ways. So yeah, the only negative at the moment is basically a new team. There's a lot of new players, so there's still a lot of bonding and clicking that needs to happen. But
So what you going for, Daniel? Stick your neck
well,
out.
I've said 2-0 win previously. I think 2 set pieces. One will be either one of the centre backs, Ethan Pye or Fraser Horsfall will get it, and the second goal will be Kyle Wotton. I think we've got a lot, with Jack Diamond and Bates. We've got a lot of quality set piece takers that can put the ball into sort of danger areas, and I think with the players that we've got, if it's like I say, if you saw the Kyle Wotton goal against Cambridge, which was Favier that came off the bench, if we can deliver balls and with quality, then we've got players that can attack it and score goals. And that's not, forget the Louis Barry factor and stuff like that. They will always be a threat, but I think teams will see that and double up on him and try and rather kick him out the game or sort of like man mark him out of the game, and then we'll rely on them sort of set pieces and to get the wins.
Who takes the throw-in? So Dave Coleman.
Anyway, fair's fair.
Reference to you.
There's a few of them that can take a long throw-in. In all fairness, I don't know if Challoner does a long throw-in school or not, but there is a couple of them that can launch the ball in.
Right, Daniel. We'll let you go.
Fair,
go on.
If we've given Arthur Stockport a ticket on Saturday, we'll have the Cheadle end on the replay on the league game at their place. How's that?
Just one before we go. Just one thing. There's 4 county fans that are walking to Blackpool. They're leaving Edgeley Park tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. They're going to stay overnight somewhere near Preston, and then they're going to hopefully get to Bloomfield Road in time for kick-off. So obviously, if anybody's got the price of a pint that they wish to donate to these guys, they're all working for charity for mental health. All the links and everything can actually be found rather on the Scarf Begara Wore social links, or even on the Stockport County, the official club Facebook site or X site. They've posted out the links to make donations and stuff as well. So if anybody wants to give them donate the cost of a pint, or wants to give them a bit of support as they come into Blackpool, then I know the guys would really appreciate that on a Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you tell them just to walk past the Armfield Club, that's our local sports club. Walk past there, just let them know you're there, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of generous people there being willing to chip in to that. So so safe journey for the rest of your trip, Daniel. We really appreciate you coming on. Going dark as well, so we don't want you to wind your battery down any further and be stuck.
No. It's because when I turned obviously the light on, turned the radio on as well, and then the Bluetooth kicked in, and that's what messed that up, I'm afraid. But like I say, I know, like I say, all the county fans are really looking forward to, as daft as it sounds, we would have sold another 1,500 tickets if Blackpool give them to us for this game. Not because there's any real big rivalry or anything like that. It's just we're just happy to be playing teams like Birmingham and Blackpool and Barnsley. Like I say, 5 years ago we were kicking off the season in National League North playing FC United of Manchester, which is a protest club set up against the Glazers. And where we never thought we'd be back playing full time, English football league football again, to be honest. So we take these moments with excitement and make the most of it. So we will be out there, win, lose or draw. We'll enjoy ourselves in Blackpool because, like you say, it's better than Colwyn Bay.
Bring some sunglasses as well. You'll need them. You're in full sun all afternoon.
Oh, I've got my bucket hat as well, so I'll have my bucket hat on, and we'll be ready. Like I say, we're all there. I think all the county fans are just there to have a good time and enjoy it, and it's a celebration of actually getting back where the club is now compared to where it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
And what about
it's great to see you back. To be fair,
Blackpool,
it's great to see you back. In all honesty, because clubs like Stockport and Wrexham should never have been out of the league in the first place. So it is. Yeah. We've been all brought up watching, playing Stockport and Wrexham and going to those away games, and I'm really looking forward to them this season. So every credit. I just hope we don't win on Saturday.
Yeah, well, like I say, it's obviously, like I say, best of luck for you guys for the rest of the season after Saturday.
That's the phrase.
Like I say, no worries, guys.
Right. Cheers, Daniel. We'll might see you tomorrow at the game. If we do, I'm sure we'll say hello and enjoy the day. I'm sure you will. So thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries. See you later, guys.
See ya. Cheers. Okay, Daniel there from Begara's. I forgot the name now. The scarf that Begara wore. The the Stockport pod. Right, just before we go, any other business, gents?
Just very quickly, on behalf of
Mick
Page, who has been heavily involved in the South Stand signage project and various other things. He did the big Bertha flags. There's a night. It's tomorrow night actually at Bloomfield Road in the Moretti Lounge. It's a night with a number of ex-players from the various different playoff teams that we've had over the years. £10 a ticket. So if you haven't got one, go and get one and get yourself down there. It should be a good night. So Mick asked us to plug that. So I hope that was okay, mate.
Yeah, and I think is the signage being unveiled this weekend? Is the signage
I think it's done now, isn't it?
This weekend, the new one. Yeah, the playoffs. The playoff sign. Mick does some great work, doesn't he? And with Crossy doing the former players. Between Mick and Crossy, they're great guys, and we all should support him. £10 a ticket, and there's two going to somebody if they want it, because I bought two, but can't go now, unfortunately. So if anyone wants some, shout up in the podcast group, and you can make use of them tomorrow.
Oops, that's one other benefit of being in our Patreon.
On John Aspinall.
Hey, let's hope a decent number of Blackpool fans turn up on Saturday, because we do need to get behind. Critchley was saying this, and it's interesting that Dan Ballard was saying it. One of the reasons he joined the club is because how impressed he was with the atmosphere when he was here with Reading. I think it was last season, wasn't it? So we do need. We are going to be faced with a lot of Stockport fans in there on Saturday, and we need to be vocal ourselves, and so hopefully we'll have a decent turnout, and hopefully the team will give us plenty to justify doing that.
Just before we go, then, just a conversation point is obviously the atmosphere has dropped off quite a bit last season, obviously because of the style of play. How long do you think it's going to take if results and performances don't stack up at Bloomfield Road? And I think we really need to hit the ground running at home.
Yeah.
Or else it could
I think You'll hear it on Saturday if we get a walloping, won't you? Let's be right. But listen, I hope that's not the case. Let's hope we play the players who could do the damage to them. We've got them, but it's so interesting. And I know you said something in the private chat. So interesting listening about Challoner. And he's the exact opposite. Critchley doesn't want people playing it safe. He wants you to be taking risks. And that's what we need to do. We need to take risks. We need to win football matches, not win possession stat tables. So hopefully...
Do you know in the forum... Do you know in the forum, one of the questions was, do you want winning football or attacking football? Why can't we have both? What happened when we got to the Premier League? Did we not have that? We had attacking.
Well, I'd have answered attacking football anyway. I'd have answered attacking football whether we win or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't understand the people who say
it's not either or, is it? It's not either or.
No.
It is in his mind, though. I think it obviously is in his mind.
And if like 4-3 wins, I don't care. 4-3 wins, just have it. Just pile into them and just. Like, I just can't get the crowd. Obviously, don't want, from all the things that went on last year, the crowd don't want to see boring football. We don't want it. You saw it in the games where there was mainly just a West Stand crowd in the games where there weren't so many there, and quickly had a go with fans. He's challenging fans and applauding people when they were passing back to the goalkeeper sarcastically. Like, that can't happen. He's got to be braver. He's got to become the manager he was when he first took over, rather than this one that he's evolved into. Right, go back to the good old days and give it a go. And like, I think it will suit these players.
Yeah, hopefully Keogh's the man.
Well, I think it will suit these players. Honestly, I think the players would really enjoy it. Right, they really enjoy it. And yeah, we're gonna. If we did it, we'd trip up a few times, but at least we'd be having a go every week, instead of boring negative football. Well,
I for one am actually looking forward to the game tomorrow. It's been a while since we've been back at Bloomfield Road, so what a better way to open. Oh, sorry, Saturday. To start the season and with a big crowd at Bloomfield Road and a nice warm day. Few beers and 3 points for the Seasiders. So we'll leave it there, everybody. So gents, thanks for your input. Thanks to Daniel from the Stockport Pod. And we'll be coming back earlier next week with our reaction to the Stockport Pod, Stockport game, and hopefully it's 3 points for Blackpool. So all I'm said now is thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for your likes and subscribes and all that on YouTube. And come on, the Pool against County. Up the Pool. Up the Pool. Up the Pool.
Up the Pool. Up the Pool.
And free the Stockport one.